sky, would I grow wings? If I were trapped underwater, would I learn how to breathe? If I fell.
So glad that you're here with us, and we're so glad that you have chose to dig into Jacob with us. We've been walking through Genesis, and it can be a bit of a long book, but it is crucial. It sets up the rest of the Bible. It is the foundation, the way we understand our origins. And so it's a big deal. So today we're going to be talking about Jacob and patterns in our lives. So it's really important, I think, one of the most important things we can understand as we build a sturdy theology. So theology is how we understand God, and that is kind of how we are going to live our lives. So if we have, for instance, if we have a shallow theology, one that says like, God wants rainbows and butterflies for you, and God, we don't include the wrestling, like Gene talked about last week. That a lot of times because of our doubts and this world and this evil in our lives and in this world, we have to wrestle with God sometimes. He's a perfect God, so sometimes we have to wrestle with him. And if we exclude that wrestling from our theology, then we are setting ourselves up with a soft foundation, with something that's not going to last. So building a strong theology is really important. And one of the most important things you can understand as you build your strong theology is that God doesn't cause evil, right? That evil in your life, whether it's your sin or bad things that happen to you, they are a result of sin, right? So sin causes sin. It is a consequence. And in the beginning, we know that Satan was responsible for tempting humankind, and then humankind is responsible for sin. So God is not going to cause bad things to happen to you. So when someone tells you, God is spiting you because you ate too much, or you kicked that person, or you dated the wrong girl, you did something you shouldn't have, or you dated the wrong boy, either way, that is not true. There may be bad things happening to you because you made poor choices, but those are consequences of those actions. And it's true that God set up this world with consequences, but that is not God's plan for your life. In fact, God is working great things in spite of the consequences in your life. So Jacob is starting his life off on a horrible path, right? And some of it is clear that there's evil forces working against him, right? Kind of guiding him in a bad direction. For instance, when he comes out, you can tell that, we know that he was grabbing the ankle of his brother, and so there's something going on there, that there's just evil. Just something's trying to tempt him, something's trying to push him to steal his brother's birthright. And then moving on, you see his mom helps him. And so you got evil force, whatever's causing her to do that, whatever kind of whisper of the devil or inclination of her heart, whatever's doing that sin causes things in Jacob's life. It has consequences. And here we see that by the time Jacob steals Esau's birthright and then runs away, he started a snowball in his life that's reckless, and it's destroying things. So he encounters Laban, and he wants to have his daughter, and he gets deceived. So Jacob has started this snowball of deceit in his life, and now he's the butt of it. He gets deceived, and so he has to marry multiple times, and it's this whole complicated story. He ends up deceiving Laban again, and it's like, oh, how could God bring anything good out of this guy? This guy stole his brother's birthright. He has no respect for family. He ran away. He's a chicken. He hides, and now he's married multiple women, and he's deceived his father-in-law. Like, it's just crazy. I mean, the whole thing is wild. And we think, well, yeah, what is God doing with Jacob? Like, why did God not choose somebody else? But I think God chose Jacob specifically for this reason. God knew evil was going to come against Jacob in this way. And so God is setting Jacob up to be a picture of God's love and power in our lives. There is nowhere you can go. There's nothing you can do where God will not come through in your life. So in this series, we're also talking about Hebrews as well as Genesis. And Gene's going to mention it next week, Hebrews, about the power of God and how God was a fire on Mount Sinai and how the ground shook. And before that, we get this warning. And it's crazy. It's a warning not to be like Esau. Not to be like Esau. what mistake did Esau make? He's barely mentioned in this story. Jacob is the deceiver, right? But Esau comes home, if you remember. So Jacob steals Esau's blessing, but Esau gives away his birthright. I don't know if you remember that, for a bowl of soup. He comes home from hunting and he's like, "Oh, I'm starving," and Jacob's like, "Well, I'll give you a bowl of my soup if you give me your birthright." Like, who would ever fall for that? But what was Esau's mistake? I think it's really clear that Esau didn't take seriously the birthright and the blessing. And then as that settles in is when it comes time for Esau to get his blessing. And that's when Isaac takes his blessing as well. And it's when Jacob takes his blessing as well. And it's like, man, Esau just got duped out of everything. And I think it's because Esau doesn't take seriously the birthright and blessing of the Lord. And that's something that happens in our lives. I don't really believe that God is going to do huge things through me today. I just believe that I have this thing to do. I got to talk to this person. I got to go here, and I'm going to go get them done. But do I really believe that God is not working against me, that evil and consequences work against me, but God is working for the good in my life? I have to really believe that, and then I can see it. So this week, when you're going into school, when you're with your friends that aren't Christians and that are always talking negative and beating each other up, and you want to do something different, be like Jacob, not Esau. And I know that's hard to say, like, oh gosh, But think about this. The only good in Jacob's life was God. Make that your case. Stand on God. Know that when you go into school, when you go into your homes, whether you're getting along with your parents really well, or you're not, or your siblings or whatever, when you go into those situations, rely on God. Know that God only wants good things for you, and the only time you're going to accomplish the great things God has for you is when you rely on Him. When you know, hey, look, I can't do this. And I come across that every day. I can't do this, but God can. Whatever it is in your life, think about that one relationship that's tough or that's struggling, or that one friend that needs to know Jesus. You can't do it, but God can. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.